while he was a student at Baylor, he met his first wife, Harriet, um, and they married. And she too was a writer, um, and her interests, from what I've been able to glean, his were geopolitical. And so, anyways, they were married. They were married approximately 1962, and they were divorced by the late 1960s. They had one single daughter, um, and like I said, in 1974, he left his job with AP, finalized his book in 74, and was published in 75, the Black Sunday, and all 5 of his novels were immediate successes. And there were long durations between each of the 5. This is one of our first authors who's written the least of our selection of authors, but yet the most prolific in screenwritership. Now he's with, like other authors, they met together, they grouped together, they hung together, they drank together, they worshiped together. Thomas Harris, because of his privacy, has not claimed any friendships with any fellow authors, and nor had those fellow authors claimed any friendships with him. So the recluse of recluses. One of the great most prolific American 20th and 21st century authors, Stephen King, who's taken on many, many interviews, had said to, when he sat down with James Lipton on his television show, The Actors Studio, by the way, the only screenwriter, non-actor, to sit for James Lipton, which is Stephen King, Thomas Harris came into conversation about potential jealousy. And he said, "No, I'm not jealous of him." So this is the quote. And Stephen King had remarked that writing is tedious for most authors. But so the quote is this. In reference to the tediousness, and I think this is one of our quotes for our ad, was writhing on the floor in agonies of frustration. The very act of writing is a kind of torment. And this probably pertains to Thomas Harris himself, due to the fact that he's only written 5 books. All 5 books have gone on to screenwriting process and have developed into movies. The only 3 people that he has maintained close relationships with, guarded close relationships with, is his daughter and his late mother, who passed in 2011. The only reason why we know her name is because there was an obituary. Her name was Polly. And apparently was so close to her that they spoke every night, um, no matter where he was, no matter where she was, um, and apparently talked incessantly about his writing, what his next group of characters would do or be or participate in within the life of Hannibal Lecter. Um, anyways, the the these brief interview. She had one interview that was issued in 1976, where we got to meet the reason why he does what he does is because of his fascination about human condition, the criminal human condition, and from what we were able to get out of this was the fact that he's created this one man, this one character, his main character, Dr. Hannibal Lecter, from an amalgamation of all of the horrors that we in society have thought about, have reasoned with, um, have uh, have discussed in reference to why people do what they do. Um, so um, he with now he's written the story of Hannibal Lecter in reverse. Hannibal Rising is about the birth and the conditions of Hannibal Lecter, and it's very interesting that we have a young man being born into Eastern European privilege during the war, and just the terror of the human condition in pre-war, during the war, and post-war Europe, and why this young man who was born into aristocracy turned so villainous. Now, we don't know why he chose these directions, but we know that he is the most known fictional criminal and the most loved of the fictional criminals. Marist Pohl had stated that Hannibal Lecter is the most loved because he's understood. And what's interesting about him is that he's created these intricate patterns and characters that are not primary characters, such as the cowboy. So the question that the New York Review of Books had suggested that these characters are not just the figment of his imagination, but they are the amalgamation of everyone's imagination. So, what is it that connects Thomas Harris to all of the previous authors that we've spoken of, the past 15 at least? Number one is that he's not come out of nowhere. He's had passions, and his passions were for the oddities of humanity. Most of our authors have had these passions for the oddities of humanity, and his oddity just happens to be the criminally insane. And he made a brief statement in '76 that um, he is a, and as Martha had stated earlier to me, that he was truly uh, a it was truly a crime novel, um, and then bringing it into the biographical factor of why crime exists, or why a criminal, a single criminal, can exist the way he or she exists. Um, Now we know that he married a second time to Pace Barnes, um, who was in publishing, um, and that they had met through the publishing world, um, and Harris's literary agent, who was Mort Jankolo. um, I have one quote from him, which is a Wikipedia quote, not a quote that I was able to get a hold of. That he is one of the good guys. He's big, he's bearded, he's wonderful, wonderfully jovial, and if you meet him, you would think that he is a choir master. He loves cooking his he loves cooking his La Cordon Bleu exams. It's great fun to sit with him in the kitchen while he prepares his meals, and uh, he sees that he's happy and calm, happy as a clam, excuse me, and that these old-fashioned manners and courtliness you would associate with the South. Um, the one interesting thing is that if we know anything about Hannibal Lecter, he is a man of Southern mannerisms and a man who is the quintessential, uh, who knows the quintessential art of cooking. Now, granted, he's cooking other things that we would not normally choose to eat, but he's cooking them nonetheless.
With fava beans.
With fava beans.
They say he's a great cook, but don't have any of the liver with fava beans.
Right. Now, just to reiterate, he wrote, he had Black Sunday published in '75. It took him a number of years to clarify his character, Hannibal Lecter, and that was in Red Dragon. And then, once again, in 1988, the publishing of his The Silence of the Lambs, '99, the publishing of Hannibal, and 2006, the publishing of Hannibal Rising. Um, and he is a talent of first rank. Um, all of these novels have been not just published, but turned into film. Again, a first for an author. And there's also a TV series starring his very own character, Hannibal Lecter. That's on, I have to quantify this with, that is on NBC. Do we have any questions? None at all. Okay. Well, that's our series on Thomas Harris. I'd like to thank the Blueberry Patch. I'd like to thank Martha. I'd like to thank Kurt for his videotaping this. And I'd like to thank Thomas Harris for 5 incredible novels. And
do you think he has any more novels in progress, or is he retired?
From what his publicist said, there are potentially 2 more coming.
Are there going to be more Hannibal?
That I don't know. And that was a question that I asked and not answered. Nice. That's that.